I am the oldest daughter of 4 children. I'm currently 25, second oldest is 23, third is 20, and youngest is 18. When I was 8 years old, my mom had an affair with a family friend. I, being the oldest, has remembered most of it, and my younger siblings only remember growing up with our parents co-parenting. This has put a strain on my mother's and I's relationship. She cheated on my father, who was battling cancer. She didn't even try to keep it a secret from the kids. I remember during family and friend gatherings when everyone would be inside, and I'd see my mom and a family friend kissing or doing things in the pool. As a kid I didn't understand, but as I got older I realized what she was doing in front of us, and I feel sick. People ended up catching on to their affair years later, and my mom left my dad and started a new relationship with this family friend. They split up shortly after that because he cheated on my mother. I've confronted her about this after my dad passed, and we all went to see a family therapist. This was roughly 3 years ago. My mom has since remarried to an incredible man, but recently she was out and bumped into this man from her past. They exchanged emails, and she confided in me that they have been sending emails back and forth and are planning to meet up to chat and catch up. I read the messages, and it's very apparent that the guy still has feelings, while my mom is trying to make it seem like she's just catching up with an old company worker. But I know my mother, and I know she is still slightly infatuated with this man, and flattered that he still wants her. I mean, it's been years, why else would you want to catch up? My new stepdad knows about her past, and while he doesn't agree with it, it's been years, he wasn't in her life yet. She asked me what I thought about her meeting up with him, and said something along the lines of needing closure. She asked for my honest opinion about the matter, and I told her some stuff. To be honest, Mom, your dealing with this guy in the past ruined yours and Daddy's marriage, and you guys had 4 kids. I don't know why you think it wouldn't ruin this one, but why don't you stop being an easy woman and stop thinking with your butt, and delete this guy's email? She cried, said she couldn't believe I just called her an easy woman and left my house. We haven't spoken for a few days. Today, I got a call from my sibling saying I hurt my mom's feelings, and whatever happened between her and Daddy's marriage was between them. I disagree. I had to witness my mom cheating on my father. I watched him die in bed while she was off to God knows where with this man. She asked for my opinion, and my opinion is that she's selfish and a jerk who left my dad to die on his own, and she wants to rekindle with this man and possibly cheat on my new stepdad. Sorry, I'm not sorry for feeling some type of way about it. Everyone's the idiot here. There are other ways to express your feelings except calling names. Ultimately, your mom isn't going to like what you say, because anything you say will remind her that your relationship is damaged because she chose to cheat while you were around, put you through the trauma of not knowing what to do in that situation while being too young to really comprehend it in the first place, and left you alone to deal with your dad and probably countless other things because she sounds like a real crap person. But if you don't throw around terms like you said, at least you're not being a crappy person back. Get yourself into therapy if you can. Not the idiot. Your mother was cheating on your father with another man while your dad has cancer, and she was even kissing with that other man in front of her kids. And now she wants to do the same thing with her current husband, and you advise her to change her behavior. By the way, your language was harsh, but maybe you did that because you were emotional. That's what makes you a bit of an idiot in this situation. You shouldn't say such words to your mom, even if she deserves it. So you are not the real jerk, because you expressed your worries and your concerns about how this can affect her current marriage, and she was who asked for your honest opinion. Everyone's the idiot here. Calling someone names isn't expressing your opinion. Everything you said was right, aside from that. It was an attempt to hurt her feelings, not express your opinion. When you want to tell someone they hurt you badly, you just tell them how you feel and why. You don't set out to hurt them in return by calling them names. Calling names also tends to just muddy the waters, exactly like it did here. Now your siblings are involved, and there's this whole other issue of whether you should reach out. And that screws because of how you feel about your mom's mistakes. I doubt you want to reach out. This is why you don't name call. My little sister, 26, has been thinking about having children with her husband for a while, but has been really unsure. Our parents and his parents have all been pushing it, and I finally decided to step in to tell them what parenting was actually like. I basically explained that while great things do happen, there's a heck of a lot of rough stuff too. I also explained that they have to be prepared for everything. We have twins in our family, I have 2 sets, and we have brothers who are also 2 sets of twins, so they have to make sure they could handle 2 babies at once, or even 3, as there are a couple sets of triplets here and there. As well as the fact that autism is fairly common in our family. 3 of our brothers are diagnosed, 4 of my children are, and I'm currently working on getting my youngest daughter some form of help. Would they be able to cope with a disabled child? I want to be clear, I wasn't trying to steer them away from children, but so many parents go in expecting only good things and then become resentful of their children when they do normal children things. I also asked them if they'd researched any form of parenting. There are several types, and you really should have an idea of how you want to raise your child. Communication is important, and all of these things need to be discussed before the baby is created. Other things to take into account, like, are you financially stable? Another thing I find is that people don't realize how much children cost because they cost a heck of a lot. You don't get to cop out of being a mother as soon as they turn 18. You will always be a mother, no matter how old your child gets. After our in-depth discussion, they've decided a dog would probably be better. They don't think they have the time, and have admitted they wouldn't be able to look after 2 babies at once, or give a disabled child the support they need. I'm so proud of them for coming to this conclusion, because we seriously have to think about the potential life here. Too many people have kids because that's what they're supposed to do. My parents think I've scared them off and are basically calling me a monster because I've terrified them into never having children. I don't think I have, but I do feel a little bad because they're almost totally averse now. I didn't think I was being harsh, just truthful, and I made sure to mention all the amazing things about parenthood too. I'm unsure, though. My husband is glad that I told them, because he also really hates the normalized child neglect in today's media, but says I could have had several conversations rather than dumping all the info onto them at once, which I do agree with. Am I the idiot here? Absolutely not the idiot. It is really good that you had a candid talk with them about what it is like. So many people rush into parenthood thinking that it is all good and that there are no hardships. They may not be ready for kids now, and after the talk they have time to financially plan a bit before taking that step, if they decide to. I honestly think more siblings should be like you and just have that honest chat so people don't get in over their heads before they are ready. On a side note, my wife and I are child-free. We took a look at even involved and decided that, for us, it wasn't worth it. It's going to be a soft you or the idiot for me. Letting them know the reality of parenting is a good thing, and since they decided to go for a dog instead, it was probably a good thing you did. But it seems like you were unnecessarily harsh. You developed in length the most difficult possible outcomes. You added elements that aren't really necessary to take into account, like style of parenting. Don't get me wrong, it's something to think of, but a general discussion with the other parent is enough before actually getting pregnant. Most people never have this discussion, have children, and then find what works for them. I feel you might have been pushing her the real fear of having a baby after this conversation. No idiots here. You told her the truth, your truth as you know it. I feel like that is something a good sibling would do. You gave them a lot to think about, and I'm sure they'll be thinking for a while about all of it. But if they do end up deciding to have children, you may have done them a favor by allowing them a little more planning and foresight than most people get. I feel like you might want to also follow it up with how much joy there is in parenting and having kids, despite all the potential plan changes, setbacks or obstacles one comes across during the journey. People need to have realistic expectations and need to be fully committed before becoming parents. My sister and I both recently ended relationships. Hers was a really rough divorce that has left my sister very fragile, and she's been living with our parents since January. Aside from the divorce being very emotionally trying, she also lost her job due to divorce-related stress affecting her performance at work, and because her ex dragged it out, she ended up draining her savings in lawyer fees. In March, my relationship also ended, and when I couldn't find a new place before the lease was up, I also ended up back at our parents' house. I moved into my new place today. I realized I'd need 2 trips to move everything, so my parents offered to take half and get it done in one, and when they saw it was a studio they lost their crap. Over the last couple of months, they've made a couple comments. Things like saying that I'd better look for a 2-bedroom and to not choose a place before my sister has seen it. There was also a conversation with my sister where she said, "I can't wait to get out of here," and when I asked her if she'd found somewhere to live, yet she looked confused and then changed topic. I got the feeling they were angling towards us being roommates, so I tried to shut it down in the nicest way possible, as my sister is fragile right now, but I really don't want to live with her. As I had the feeling my parents were angling for me to take my sister, I specifically looked for studio flats, so she couldn't have her own bedroom, or even say she'd sleep on the sofa. There was no conversation where any of them explicitly said we fully expect you to get a 2-bedroom, so you can live together, but apparently all 3 of them were expecting me to have room for her. Having said that, there was also no conversation where I explicitly said no freaking way, it was just a couple of months of her and our parents joking about us living together and me saying haha, no. We had an argument when they saw my flat was a studio, during which I admitted that I'd looked for studios, so my sister couldn't live with me. My sister started crying and said, "If you hate me that much, you could have just said so." They all left, and it's been a few hours. I've received a total of 43 calls and 67 messages, most of which I'm just ignoring, but they're all saying I'm an idiot for pretending to not know what they were talking about and forcing my sister to stay with them, and they say that as there was clearly an expectation that she would live with me, I should have said something sooner, as they've apparently had to pack and now unpack my sister's suitcases because they thought they'd be making another trip to get her stuff after moving mine. I did actually relay the conversation to a friend who is in a similar situation, but they said that I should have been clearer and shut it down sooner, rather than get my sister's hopes up over a miscommunication. Am I the idiot? If your sister wanted to live with you, someone in your family needed to have an actual conversation, not just hinting about it. And your sister should have helped pick out an apartment and agreed to pay her share of expenses. Where you went wrong was admitting that your sister was ever a consideration when perplexed bewilderment and resolutely sticking with "Gee, why didn't anyone say anything if this is what you wanted?" A shame, since it's too late now, until the problem passed would have served you much better. Not the idiot. You have no obligation to explicitly reject requests which aren't made. Not the idiot. Yeah, it might have helped things to straight out say you didn't want to live with her earlier. But you are not obligated to live with your sister. You are an adult. And you are right, they never did say that they wanted your sister to move in with you. That is very selfish of your sister, and definitely your parents, to assume. Honestly, I would be hella angry at your parents. This isn't about just an apartment. They are trying to foist your sister off on you, so they don't have to be responsible for her anymore. But you aren't your sister's mother, she isn't your responsibility. Not the idiot. It would one thing if there was a real conversation, and you both set your expectations. But you actively looked for a place and made plans, it was known. Your sister and parents tried to be passive-aggressive and drop hints in the hopes that she would move with you. She didn't offer rent, she didn't offer to share the costs of anything, and she didn't even go look at places with you. She was not active at all during the planning of this move. Your family doesn't just expect you to share an apartment with your sister, they expect you to house her, feed her, spend your time with her. They want your sister to become your problem, not theirs. 2 years into our marriage, my husband Kyle cheated on me with one of his colleagues, Madison. Kyle immediately admitted what happened, and he said that it was a drunken one-time thing that they both regretted. We were having a rough patch in our relationship at that time because of the stress of being unable to conceive, so I tried to understand him and gave our relationship another chance. I was gutted when he later told me that Madison was pregnant, but what's done was done and the only thing I could do was accept it. They now have a son, Kit. Kyle's parents adore Kit, and they have him once a week, every Friday. I don't begrudge them for that, and I myself care about Kit like a stepson, because none of any of this is his fault. Which brings us to the issue. For Mother's Day, my father-in-law had an artist draw a Disney-style family portrait of their family. My mother-in-law sent a picture of the portrait that they put in the living room of their house. My parents-in-law are in the middle, and to their left is Kyle's sister, Carla. Beside Carla is her husband, and in front of them are their 2 kids. To their right is me, beside me is Kyle, and beside Kyle is Madison. Kit is in front of Kyle. My heart sank when I saw Madison. I have nothing against Kit being in the picture, and I know that they are my in-laws, are close to Madison too, but to have her in the portrait with Kyle between me and her, that just broke my heart. I called my mother-in-law and asked her if they could please keep that picture in their room or somewhere else in the house, not in the living room where I will see it every time we're over, because it reminds me that I will always share my husband with the woman he cheated on me with, because she gave birth to the child that I don't have with him. My mother-in-law apologized for hurting my feelings, but said that they didn't mean to upset me, they were just thinking of Kit, and how they don't want him to feel that her mother isn't family to them. My mother-in-law said that she will put the portrait in their bedroom instead. I told her that frankly I don't know how they didn't think that it would upset me, but if they move the portrait elsewhere then I accept their apology, and that's the end of the issue for me. Hours later Carla called me saying that my complaining about the portrait made my mother-in-law cry on Mother's Day, and now my father-in-law is also upset that his gift to her, which they were originally both happy about, is causing all of this drama. Carla said I was out of line for telling my in-laws what they can or cannot put in their living room, and that in reality Madison is part of their family because she is Kit's mom. She said that I should learn to live with the fact that Madison will always be there as long as I'm married to Kyle because of Kit. I told her that I know Madison will always be there, but is it too much to ask them not to rub it in my face with a portrait showing my husband between me and Madison? Am I really the idiot here? No idiots here. I don't think you're wrong for being upset at all. It must be awful that your partner not only cheated on you, but cheated on you and fathered a child while your relationship was suffering due to fertility issues. Your in-laws, however, were not wrong to include her in the picture. She is the mother to their grandchild, and from what you said, they seem to have a good relationship with her. While I don't think you're being unreasonable, you chose to forgive and stay with Kyle. This is the fallout from that. You need to come to terms with it because you can't live your life pretending it never happened and expecting everyone to alter their lives to avoid reminding you. No idiots here. Accepting to continue your marriage with Kyle means accepting Kit and Madison. I personally would never have ever continued that relationship if I were in your shoes. Kyle is by far the greatest jerk of all here. But unfortunately, your in-laws will always love and have Kit, and Madison is his mom, so she'll always be in the picture. I'd suggest some counseling or therapy, or have a serious talk with Kyle, how to deal with these feelings. It's completely 100% reasonable for you to feel this way, but your marriage isn't sustainable if Madison will always bring you pain and remind you of Kyle's ultimate betrayal. No idiots here. I do understand why you're upset. But if you're willing to grant that the point is to show Kit that he's part of the family and not an embarrassment despite the unfortunate circumstances of his conception, then there really aren't that many options in terms of what to do with his mother in the picture without completely undoing that message. And while I don't think your request should have prompted additional family drama, Moving the picture to the bedroom doesn't really change the fact that if merely seeing your husband and Madison next to each other is enough to trigger this degree of hurt, you should get a good family therapist.